An offering to someone to receive Dharma teachings is to surrender something that is precious to you. What is precious to you is very dependent on the individual. So maybe LSD is not precious to you, but to this person it's very precious. So therefore, when they offer that up to the teacher, they're offering up the most precious thing to them at that time. Meaning what? I surrender to you. Substitute this with something else more precious to God. So for people of that era and that time, that was a very big thing. LSD, and it's expensive, and it produces a lot of happiness. And if I'm giving this, and it gives me an altered state of mind, and I don't need to think deep, and I have some peace, and I get to escape from my reality. So that one's like really pleasure for me, and I really like it, and it's really what I'm into. But if I can offer that up to you, it shows you how much I value you. I value you so much that I can offer you my LSD. So when we look at it at face value, it's like you, LSD, but it's illegal, offering drugs to your lama and all that stuff. But if you look at it more on a deeper level, it's a student surrendering up to Rinpoche saying, this is my attachment, and this is what I find the most pleasurable. And I'm offering that up to you, telling you that you're worth much more than this to me. Please convey the Dharma to me. So what he's doing is making a strong karmic connection to Rinpoche. Very strong karmic connection. Okay? And when Rinpoche takes it, you see, when the Bodhisattva, listen to this very carefully, a very attained being, you can offer them anything. When they use it, they help you to collect the merit to come out of your relation. Now, if you're very attracted to beautiful form, very attracted to beautiful form, and if it's not beautiful, you can't stand it, and from that it creates a kind of separation from you with other people, and even in some cases, arrogance. So when you offer beautiful flowers to the Rinpoche, when you offer beautiful flowers to the Tenpi, the beautiful flowers are a representation of your attachment to something beautiful, and therefore that becomes an obstacle for you. So when the highly realized being takes the flowers and then smells it, and looks at it, and plays with it, and enjoys it, he dedicates the merit back to you. When he dedicates the merit back to you, what happens to you is that in the future, you will come out of your attachment to beautiful things. So anything beautiful and not beautiful becomes equal to you. So what happens is when you offer, what you have to offer what's precious to you. Some people are very attracted to very delicious foods. So when they offer very beautiful foods to the Rinpoche, then what happens is when the Rinpoche tastes it, because the Rinpoche himself is a merit field. He's a field of merit for you to collect merit and for you to cut your ego. So whatever he does with your objects, it benefits you tremendously. Why? He generates the merit by using them. Some Rinpoches, even transform people by sex. This is rare, but there are cases where they transform people by sex. Why? Because sex is the best thing they have to offer. And they've been using that to get whatever they want in life. Maybe money, or attention, or love, or care, or affection. So the best thing they have is sex. They don't have anything else. When they offer it up to the Rinpoche, it looks like the Rinpoche is very lustful. So the Rinpoche copulates with the person. When after they copulate with the person, the pleasure that the person has offered up to the Rinpoche, to them, it's the same as smelling a flower, having sex, or eating, or sleeping, whatever. To them, it's just an activity to be used to generate merit according to the person making the offering. So when they receive the sex, it's offered by the person from their heart. So when the Rinpoche receives it, he engages it, he receives it just like eating or smelling, and then he dedicates it back to the person. In the future, it helps them to destroy their lust. Why? You use the passion to destroy the passion. That's just an example. Okay, then some people have a lot of poverty, and they have a lot of miserliness. Miserliness creates poverty. Poverty arises from miserliness. So they offer gold to the Rinpoche, or they offer money to the Rinpoche. The Rinpoche immediately take the money or the gold, offer to put it in some way. Maybe paint it on the face, maybe buy some jewelry and put it on it, or buy some offering put on it, or even create more statues and offer to people. By doing that, it helps the person to destroy their attachment. Why? It is a direct creation of merit you're using. But you see, that is a high-level practitioner It's not some ordinary. Some ordinary schmuck is saying, offer sex to me, destroy your desire. No, that won't happen. Your desire will increase and their desire will increase. It doesn't happen. I'm talking about high-level practitioner, not for clowns like us. So don't go running around offering your sex. I'm serious. It's not for ordinary people like us. This far, very high-level practitioners who have no attachment. Why? For people who have no attachment, they've reached that level. Sex, eating, sleeping, it's all the same. It's all the same. Just an activity to generate merit. Why? It's not something that increases their ego or increases their desire. It's just an act. It's just a simple act like that. Okay? By you offering something you find value in, isn't it kind of hurtful at first? Why? Because you want it, but you're giving it to someone. So when you give it to someone, it's not the object, it's the feeling behind it. Your willingness to surrender that object means you're reaching another level or trying to. So the object is just representative of what the real offering. And what is that? Your surrender of the object that you're attached to that creates you a lot of unhappiness. It's representative. You understand that? Think carefully. So when you offer up the flowers, is it actually the flowers that the Lama is pleased with? What is he pleased with? Your attachment is offered up. And then when it's offered up, it's in the form of the flower. Why? You could have used that money for something else, but you didn't. So when the Lama receives it, the Lama himself is highly realized. Well, to you, let me have that. When you offer the Lama up, when you offer the flower up to the Lama, a highly realized Lama is always in a state of meditation. It doesn't look like it. Or they have visualized themselves as Yidam. So when they visualize themselves as Yidam, they themselves is still flesh and blood. But they're using this vehicle to embody a Yidam. Example, Vajrayogini. So they visualize themselves as Vajrayogini, or they are Vajrayogini, and they smell it. And they touch it. So it's not them smelling anymore, it's Vajrayogini. Why? What's the difference between a statue and a Lama? Our faith. Our faith. My body is made up of 4 elements. The statue's body is made up of 4 elements. Can they both contain a holy being? Correct. So a Lama has generated himself as a holy being. He's visualized the holy being enter him. So the holy being is within him. He enjoys it and he looks at it. Every time he enjoys and looks at it, it's an offering to the holy being. It's a direct offering. What happens? The reason you offered it, the merit will be dedicated back to you. Do you understand that concept? The object that you offer signifies your attachment. That's 1. Number 2, when you offer money up, it doesn't signify anything. But when you offer it to an attained Lama who's visualized himself as a deity, the deity will know what you're attached to. The merit is dedicated back to you automatically. When you offer money up to Buddha's statue in a temple, don't you think the Buddha knows what your biggest attachment is? Although it's money. So if the Lama is visualizing himself as the Buddha, who's receiving the offering is not him, it's the Buddha. So therefore, when you offer it up, the merit automatically goes back to you to counter your biggest problem. Why? Because he's offering up to who? Correct. Visualized where? I can't hear you. Where is the Buddha visualized? Inside himself. Generated as a Yidam. The statue has power. This statue of Tara has power. Why? It has an image, but we believe that Tara is in there. If we don't believe that Tara is in there, that image itself has less power or no power. Depends on the situation. So, if the Lama visualizes the Tara here or there, what's the difference? On an ultimate level, no difference, correct? On an ultimate level means the highest level. On the normal level, people say, of course there's a difference. He's a man, that's a statue. So how can a Buddha enter a man who's dirty, he's got poop inside, he's got pee, he's got blood, he's got nerves, he's got tendons? How can it? But to a Buddha, there's no difference. Why? That statue has 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. But what's more predominant in that statue? Which element is more predominant in that statue? No one. Element. What's the 4 elements? Earth, water, air, or fire. Which one is most predominant in that statue? Very good. Why?
Because it's made out of metal.
Correct. It's more solid. Very logical. It's less water, it's less fire. So, what were you talking about? One of the elements, or 4 of the elements, or a combination must support an image. Support the wisdom being. That's what we call a samaya being. A samaya being is something that is created to contain the actual wisdom being. You understand? So when a highly realized Lama receives an offering, it's the same as if you offer it to a Buddha statue. But it goes one more step if the Lama uses it. So if you offer a very nice bed to the Lama, each time the Lama uses the bed, you receive the merits back. For whatever reason that you offered that for. You understand? Every single time.
It's like things that we offer to use at the center of the temple.
Each time it's used, the merit is generated. Correct. Right. So we always visualize our Lama as a Buddha. When we have faith our Lama as a Buddha, highly attained, we make offerings to the Lama, it will be even more auspicious in the statue, depending on our perception. Correct. So if the mind doesn't know the qualities of a Buddha, it cannot appreciate it. If it cannot appreciate it, the mind won't even think about making offerings to it to do something about itself by making offerings, correct? Very good. So therefore, how much benefit you receive from the statue or the Lama is more dependent on the statue, the Lama, or the person perceiving.
The person perceiving.
Very good. And the reason the person perceiving is how much they perceive is how much benefit they get, correct? An example, someone who knows the value of a Buddha statue will make a lot of offerings, keep it clean, make a beautiful shrine, and make it the center of their house. Someone who doesn't know the value of it will just keep it in the corner like a tourist object. Correct? Either way, does the Buddha benefit the person? Yes. But how much the Buddha can benefit depends on what?
What the person who does and the person's perception.
Excellent. You have understood it very excellent. You will be able to explain it to other people. Excellent. Why is it when they use it again and again, a lot of merits are created? Why?
Even though the Lama is bogus, the giver itself has a pure heart in view.
Very good. Very good. So actually, the bogus Lama will collect demerit, but the giver will still collect merit. Excellent. It's not a loss all the way. Excellent. Excellent. Why? Because then that means a more beautiful statue that's well made will be more beneficial to make offerings to, but an ugly statue that's not made well will be less beneficial. Cannot be, right? Because it must be from the side of the very good. Excellent. Now, when you make offerings to monks, when you make offerings to nuns, why is it you gain merit?
Because they are able to keep their monk's vows.
Very good. So when they're able to keep their monk vows, the monk vows push them to what direction? Correct. So when you give offerings to monks and nuns, and you're helping them to sustain their vows. Why? They don't have to do the things you do to get the objects to sustain themselves. So you're actually helping them to sustain their vows toward Buddhahood. You're helping them towards their livelihood to practice. Right? So therefore, when you make offerings to them, you're supporting them to practice to become what? Correct. So whatever they do, it goes back to you. Why? You're not able to do what they're doing. You're not able to do what they're doing, but you admire what they're doing, and you would like to do it one day. So in order to do it, you must create an affinity or a merit to do it, to hold the vows. So therefore, by making offerings to a person holding the vows, you create the affinity to be able to hold the vows, to also reach that level of doing practice to become a Buddha. Understand? Understand? Very good. So when you make offerings to pure monks and nuns, do you collect a great amount of merits to become a Buddha? Why? Based on their vows. In the case of monks and nuns, it doesn't matter how you perceive, they're holding real vows. In the case of statues, it's your perception. Because there's nothing live there. On the basis of statues, it's based on your perception. Why? A blind person or a retarded person is not going to see any value in the statue, are they? They're not going to see any value. It doesn't mean the statue doesn't have value. What you see on the statue is going to have to be, a lot is played from your perception. Whereas from a monk and nun, it doesn't have to be a perception. Why? They're actually living beings holding a vow. Since they're living beings holding a vow, when you make an offering to them, how will they use the offering? To sustain their holding of the vows. So since you're helping them to sustain and holding the vows, what are they holding the vows towards? Right? So with the case of monks and nuns, if you have a pure perception, that's wonderful. But even if you don't, if you offer them something, won't it be beneficial for you? Why?
Cause and effect.
Why? I need a direct answer, not a general answer.
They are engaging in merit, virtuous practices.
Based on?
Vows.
Correct. So when you make offerings to them, you're helping them sustain what?
Vows.
Correct. You're helping them sustain their vows and their practice. So if you're helping them sustain their vows and practice, what's the result of their vows and practice? Right. So what are you actually supporting them to become? That's right. That's why it's meritorious. So in the case of monks and nuns, your perception is not as important. It's sincerity of your offering. Why? Because they're living beings holding vows, and you're helping them sustain their vows. That's the whole reason we make offerings to monks and nuns, so they don't have to engage in actions that waste their time instead of doing Dharma practice to become a Buddha. Does that make sense? Very good. Now, in the case of our lamas, whether the lama is enlightened or not, when you make an offering to the lama and the lama uses it to extend or expand or spread the Dharma, does it benefit you? Why? Because you're saving your lama time that he doesn't have to go and get these things in order to spread the Dharma. You give it to him, so you're saving him time to spread the Dharma faster. You understand? This is on a very base level. On the next level, when you make offerings to your lama, you think of him as a meditational deity. Everything that the lama receives, everything the lama gets, will benefit you directly by your motivation. But if the lama himself or herself is highly attained, is that level that's very highly attained, whatever you offer them, it will benefit you. Why? The lama is not receiving the item as an ordinary being to enjoy or sustain his merits to become a Buddha. He's already a highly enlightened being. So since he's highly enlightened, you're actually helping him to benefit others even more. And he himself becomes an object of offering because of his teens. Buddhas are solely there for us to collect merits. They exist to collect merits. Their statues, the stupas, are there for us to collect merits. There's no other reason for us to create statues and stupas. It's solely for us to collect merit. Make offerings to our mouth, it's very virtuous. It's much better than a normal being. But it's even more virtuous to make offerings of Bodhisattva. And to make offerings of Bodhisattva is much better than our mouth, but it's even higher to make offerings of Buddha. Why? Their potential, their capacity is much greater. Example, who would be best to be friends with? The commissioner of police, the minister of finance, or the prime minister?
The prime minister.
That's right. In ordinary day times. They all have power, don't they? They all can do things, but who has the most power? Who has the most power? Prime Minister.